Hello! We have 3 stories today that topped the malicious compliance charts this last month. Our first story doesn't happen often. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover. You know, if the leaves were like all workplace revenge and justice. Hey, I never said I was good at similes. I do puns because I know to stick to what I'm good at. Unlike the boss in our first story, who decides to micromanage but can't do anything right. Luckily, our writer was long gone when an unlikely hero appeared. The boss's boss. To do unto him what he had wrought unto others. Get ready for a delectable deli experience. Story 1. This happened at work about 10 years ago. At the time of this incident, I had been working for a big box superstore for about 12 years, 5 of which as a department manager. I managed 3 areas: fresh meat, frozen seafood, and prepackaged deli and breakfast meats. I supervised 2 part-timers and 2 full-timers. I reported to 3 supervisors, ranking in order an assistant manager, a co-manager, and then the store manager. The situation. On a particular Thursday morning, it was just myself and one of my full-timers, Carl. Carl was on duty until 3 p.m., myself until 4 p.m., and no one else after. My other full-timer was on his day off. One part-timer was not available Thursday through Saturday, and the other was on vacation. Coverage was thin at best and would continue to be that way through the weekend. Having been super light on coverage all week due to one of my guys being on vacay, the deli wall was looking a little thin. On this Thursday morning, I had to decide how to best prepare for the weekend. I knew that I would not have enough staff to commit a person to filling the deli wall on Friday or Saturday. As soon as I had finished breaking down Thursday morning's delivery with Carl, I began busting my tail to get the deli wall as full as possible before I left that day. That way, I could have my guys focus on the fresh meat wall throughout the weekend where I knew it would be super busy. While I did this, I entrusted Carl to fill the fresh meat wall for Thursday night's 4 p.m. rush. He was a very hard worker despite his age and health. I knew he could handle it on his own. Around 11 a.m., Carl had to take his lunch break. While he is gone, my co-manager, Scott, arrives to work and sees only me. And I'm filling the deli wall while only half of the fresh meat wall had been stocked thus far. Scott does not like this. He tells my assistant manager, Brenda, to have me swap to the fresh wall as it is more important for that night's customers. I immediately seek out Scott to tell him why this is a bad idea and why I am filling deli meats and not fresh meats. But Scott doesn't care. He doesn't want to hear what I have to say. I am to do exactly as I am told. He does not want me to fill the deli wall, only the fresh wall. Did I mention that Scott is ex-military and still acts like he is enlisted? Cue the malicious compliance. I did exactly as Scott told me. After having only worked about an hour on the deli wall, I put all the freight back into the cooler and began filling the fresh wall. Carl returned from lunch, confused to see me. I explained what had happened before taking my own lunch. Upon my return, the fresh wall was nearly finished. But I went ahead and helped Carl continue filling it. Soon we were done and just topping it off throughout the rest of the afternoon. If someone bought a pack of beef, we both went back into the cooler to bring out another. Same with chicken, pork, anything. Walking back and forth, one package at a time until Carl left at 3 p.m. and then I left at 4 p.m. As I walked past the deli wall on my way out, it already was looking so much worse than it had when I had arrived that morning. The aftermath. When I arrived to work at 7 a.m. on Friday morning, the first thing I did was walk past the deli wall. I was completely caught off guard to see it had been filled. As I'm theorizing who could have possibly filled it, Brenda comes by and sees the puzzled look on my face. She comes over to me with a bit of a grin on her face. The following is what she had told me had happened after I left the night before. The little bit that had been on the deli wall when I had left only continued to be shopped. More and more of the wall emptied out as people shopped. It began to look like people had been panic buying. It had gotten so empty. Around 8 p.m., a market manager came in to do his own shopping. I did not explain this before, but a market manager is who my store manager reports to. In other words, someone who has even greater authority than anyone in the store. Market manager Bob goes to buy some lunch meat. Lo and behold, there is almost nothing on the shelf. He notices the entire wall is nearly bare. He is furious. Bob demands that Scott come over to the deli wall immediately. Scott runs over and gets chewed out. Bob orders Scott to get the wall stocked immediately. Scott is only now understanding the scope of his blunder. The wall is so empty that it will take a few hours to fill. And it is in this moment Scott realizes how hard he had messed up because he hadn't checked the schedule earlier. He was now discovering that there is no one in the meat departments that evening. There is no one he can delegate this task to. Guess who ended up having to fill the deli wall? That's right! Scott had no choice but to do it himself, and he didn't get done until midnight. Remember, he had arrived just before 11 a.m. that day, and he had to be back at 8 a.m. Friday. Also, Scott is salaried, so he got no overtime for the extra hours worked. Scott never did apologize to me for not trusting my judgment and for not listening to me, but he learned his lesson. From that day forward, he did not try to micromanage me and let me run my departments unimpeded. In the comments, in it, Alcanis said, "Authority exposes people. Some will accept advice, others insist on consequences." Obi-Wan Salami said, "This is how you manage your boss. Don't argue, comply. Then sit back and laugh at the idiot." Equivalent Salary said, "I'd add, explain why it's a bad idea before complying. That gives a decent boss a chance to reconsider, and it gives you the ability to smirk when it does fall apart. And if anyone was an early internet chatter like myself, this next one will take you back." Lilac Crazy said, "Should have slapped him with a frozen trout. Sorry, old MIRC days." Wickerbag replied, "That brings back memories." It's not often that we hear a tale of such sweet justice. I mean, there's practically a cherry on top of this justice cupcake. To be clear, it was a fluke, a stroke of luck really, that the market manager just happened to stop by to shop. And then, Scott actually had to get his hands dirty. No delegating this time, Scotty boy. Our second story sets sail to warmer waters in a tropical tourist paradise. But the beautiful scenery isn't enough to encourage one man to open up his wallet. Despite everyone's good time at stake, he decides to bluff his way off the boat, off the dock, off everything, and continues to bluff as everyone turns on him. So get ready to set sail in Story 2. A little background info. I live in a popular tropical tourist destination, and one of my jobs is as crew on a snorkel boat. I set up the boat before the trip, lifeguard, give history about the area, etc. My captain is also the owner of the business, so what he says goes, and he knows the local waters like the back of his hand. Our company consists of him, me, and his girlfriend, who manages bookings, phones, and emails. We aren't low quality, but we don't offer full meals or entertainment on board and focus solely on the snorkel experience. Because of that, compared to the larger boats, our private charters are lower cost than most competition. In turn, we often get penny pincher people. Onward to the main story. A family of 22 had been hounding our office before they even arrived to our location. Our office's words. They were pushy and trying to get discounts and free upgrades, so I was already dreading this charter. Generally, we take a card number and charge it before the charter, but this group was adamant about paying cash. The office and captain said fine, but told me to get payment before getting them on the boat. Our boat is 50 foot long and stays moored offshore a few hundred yards. So we use a water taxi to ferry from the shore to the boat. I got dropped off to get payment, check the group in, and give them pre-boarding info. I walked up to the main guy paying for everything to start the process, and that's when things went downhill. M equals me, G equals guy. "Hello, which boat are we going on?" I point to our boat and say, "That pretty one right there." "That's not the boat we're going on." "Yes, it is. There isn't any other boat, sir." Showing me a photo of a boat from our website, he says, "No, the boat looks like this." "Yes, sir, that is the same boat. We just had the bottom and paint replaced a month ago." "I guess our office hasn't updated our website. Sorry about the confusion, but I assure you it is the exact same boat." "Well, I don't think you're trying to deceive me, but then why would they send me that photo?" "I'm sorry, I'm not sure what to tell you. It is the same boat." "Well, I think we need to go out and inspect it and look at it before we decide to go and pay for it. I'm sorry, sir, that's not how this works. We have already set up the boat for the charter and blocked any other bookings to accommodate your private charter. You can pay and we can take your family out for their excursion, or you can decide not to go. We haven't received payment from you, so we have no obligation to you and no money to return. What would you like to do? Then we don't want to go on the boat. Okay, sir. Sorry it didn't work out. You and your family have a good day. I picked up my stuff, turned around, got in the water taxi, and left them on the shore. As we rode away, I could see the guy already on the phone trying to call the office. I called his bluff, and he was panicking because his whole family just heard him say they didn't want to go, even though a lot did. Got back to the boat and explained to Cap what happened. He said it sounds like he doesn't want them on his boat anyway, and their loss. We had planned to refuel after their trip, but decided to do it now since we now had the morning open. They were still on the shore when we left, but were gone when we got back. Once back on shore, the other guys who run activities in the same area told us the group had hung around for about an hour. I guess the guy was very convinced we would come crawling back, but when we didn't, the family started fighting, since many had still wanted to go. Now they have to try find another boat that has 22 spaces open and will most likely cost 2 to 3 times more than us. It was totally worth waking up early without pay. In the comments, someone said, "This is why many companies charge a deposit to be put toward the cost of the trip. Good on you for standing firm." OP replied, "Yeah, I really don't understand why our office person didn't do that. She has been lenient with customers before, which has led to us dealing with the fallout. I'm only working for them for a few more months, so just trying to get through." Shelford Prefect said, "That guy was never in a month of Sundays going to pay the full agreed price, so it's probably best you just ditched him." Arathorn replied, "Of the things I would never consider penny pinching on, scuba diving, skydiving, and snorkeling are high on the list. I'm sure snorkeling is safer than the other two, but I still don't plan on drowning. And I'm certainly not going to anger the guy in charge of me having a safe and fun time either." That Berg fan said, "The guy you met is the one who told the whole family, 'Please let me do the talking. I know how to handle these types. We're going to get it cheaper. Just watch.'" Shadow Dragon replied, "They did indeed get it cheaper. Free, in fact. The experience, though, well, they got what they paid for." That "let me handle this" comment, the best. That is 100% who this guy is. He definitely handled his way out of what probably would have been an amazing experience. Often the smaller companies that keep to the basics do a great job. I once went on a guided tour in Cuba, and the guide himself, his stories, and everything he shared really made the experience. This family totally missed out, and I can't help but giggle to myself when I picture this guy dealing with 21 disappointed and angry relatives. Pretty sure they're planning the rest of that day without him. Our third story is a bit older but was a bit short to include in previous videos despite being one of the top voted. It follows a snack-thieving surgeon who thinks all the food belongs to him just because he pays your salary. Where I come from, snack thieves receive Canada's harshest punishment, called the poutine paddle. You get chased by a pack of determined beavers armed with jars of maple syrup into angry mustache mounties holding giant french fries. Whew. Well, we don't talk about what happens in the poutine pit. Luckily, a different kind of justice prevails in our story as his staff isn't about to go hungry and they make him pay. Literally. Let's eat. In story 3. I worked for an orthopedic surgeon who constantly ate people's lunches and would leave $10 on the fridge. He really loved leftover home-cooked meals. "I don't get lunches off. I have to work to keep paying your salary. You can go buy another lunch," he would say. I hated him so much. But I got paid a lot. He was fresh out of his internship and residency, and he thought he was above everyone. We complained to the office manager. She went to the doctor and said we were all angry about it. The doctor told her to deal with it. If the doctor decided to eat one of our lunches, we could have the office manager just order us something. This was amazing. There were 2 people besides me that had family and kids, so we always brought leftovers. If he ate my food, I ordered from the most expensive steak place in town. Appetizers, 22-ounce steaks, 3 sides, a salad, and dessert. I'd eat the salad, and the rest went home. And of course, there are plenty of leftovers to take to work the next day. The rest of the staff was doing the same, ordering full chickens, 4 to 5 different Chinese dishes, spending hundreds of dollars to replace stolen meatloaf sandwiches and day-old soups and spaghetti. The office manager went along with it. After all, he said we could order what we wanted if he took our lunch. It went on for 2 months until Jerkhead Doc caught on. From then on, he had the office manager order him a lunch. I did miss trading off a cold pork chop and Spanish rice for prime rib and all the fixings. In the comments, Lapsteel Guitar said, "Sounds like a fair trade to me. Doctor steals your lunch, so gets to replace it." Alarmed Club replied, "The doctor is also spending about the same portion of his income on food as his staff were spending on their leftovers." Putin My Derriere said, "Funny how he thought that was too expensive, so close to self-awareness." And for the sci-fi fans out there, since I know a few who have been listening to me for a long time, someone else said, "Malicious Compliance is a dish best served au jus and with all of the a la carte options." Ancient Klingon medical proverb. OP replied, "Nice. Sounds more Ferengi, though." Medicinal Porpoises added, 50-second rule of acquisition. Never ask when you can take. I sentence the surgeon to the poutine paddle. Preparations must be made. Stir the syrup. We want it nice and sticky. Dispatch the Mounties. And ready the beavers. And that's it for today. Until next time, shine bright, Starlight. Yahoo! If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.